All right, hello and welcome. I'm Mike, and I'm here with my friend Randy, and we're going to be discussing 12-step programs, and we're going to be supporting each other in kind of walking through the process of 12 steps. I'm going to do my best to really kind of participate in it and to, and to really give you, the viewer, kind of like a front seat, to that process. So Randy has written some of his own steps for the 12-step program. I'm looking into establish an Under Earners Anonymous group as well. So I would like to really encourage you, the viewer, to use this time to just be a fly on the wall, to kind of check us out, earning trust as well. And that, if this resonates with you, you will be invited to join us and talk about some of the for me, what is some of the limitations of the financial world, and how people make money and why people make money and the limitations of those systems. And I feel like the Under Earners Anonymous 12-step program kind of helps to really kind of get to the truth of what's going on, and how we can help all of us make our lives better, both personally, financially, spiritually, emotionally, and in our relationships. Yep. So that's me. That's my intention for this. So let me just turn it over to Randy for a moment. And Randy, even though I'm hoping others will watch this, this is really just a conversation between you and me at the moment. But what is alive for you today? How are you feeling going into these conversations?
I am excited. Yes. So as you mentioned, I've kind of done my adaptation of the 12-step process. For those that don't know me, I've been continuously sober through since 2006. Um, I've had the privilege to help more than one person go through this, but more importantly, I've been helped by many people through this process. And it's a long story, but again, I've just felt called after being in the recovery community for so long to want to just go outside of it. Part of it is just wanting something new. This is not out of virtue; it's more out of circumstance and such. Um, but one of the things, as I've spent time with people, there's frustration because there's an incomplete understanding of what the process is. So what I want to do is help put it in a little different language, maybe a little different emphasis that's typically found in a 12-step program.
Mhm.
There is an author that has been very influential in my life. His name's Joseph Bailey. He authored a book called Serenity Principle. And without going through a big book report, basically his hypothesis is, and by the way, has lots of letters after his name. It's taught in the Mayo Clinic. This is not just some guy like me. There's research that supports this. But Joseph Bailey believes that all addictions they begin with insecurities, and the
Mhm.
solution has to do with serenity.
Mhm.
So if you are familiar a little bit with recovery communities and such, or even not directly, but from afar, the serenity prayer, that's really the gist of this. Even though it wasn't designed for recovery,
Mhm.
um, it fits in. So what I want to bring here again is helping people maybe, I don't know, have a wow, interesting. I've never thought of it that way before. But yeah, and then the simple truth is how this ties together is also another unique way. You typically would not ever find discussions about your economic situation in a 12-step meeting.
Right.
Um, typical again, whether it's involving whatever your drug of choices,
Mhm.
type of, or codependency, and that at least my experiences, this is the kind of stuff that's called an outside issue.
Mhm.
But let's be frank, it's not. It is
Right.
integral to everybody's life. So even if somebody doesn't identify with this problem as much as, again, whatever an issue that would bring them to recovery, again, since
Mhm.
alcohol was mine, I'll use that example.
Mhm.
You know, you may not necessarily seek out 12-step support for your economic situation. It's because of alcoholism or problematic drinking, the
Yeah.
consequences of your drinking. Um, this is always something that comes up sooner and later. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where this conversation goes.
Yep, very good. Yeah, very good. Yes, and yeah, I want to emphasize that as well too. That a lot of different 12-step programs out there. I have friends who work with Suicide Anonymous. And she was the one who kind of introduced me to Under Earners Anonymous. So really, just working through these 12 steps, just to really understand that there's community support. That we're here to that we're here to help, as far as, whatever it is, like you said, drug of choice or whatnot, but there's universal value, I think, in exploring the 12 steps. And just in my experience with what I have to offer up as well too, I think the under earners is where I find the most convergences or the most correlations as well. I also wanted to mention as well too that if you're watching this, all of this time that you're spending with us, you can credit yourself with time bank hours. At the moment, it's called the Karmic Margin Call Project Time Bank, but I'm going to be changing that soon. It's going to be called the Living Library Time Bank. But yeah, just contact me or contact anyone who may have shared these videos with you, and they'll make sure that you get credit for this time in the time bank. So, without further ado, Randy, let's go into step one. So, let's talk about step one, and I'd like to hear about your process. That whether or not it's something that you've experienced in your past or something you're starting new right now. But step one that I've just wrote down here from the Under Earners Anonymous page is that we're powerless over our under earning, and that our lives have become unmanageable. And you have your own spin on this, and I'd like to ask you what your spin on this first step is, and then let's talk about what were some of your discernments with that, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of my discernments as well too, approaching this first step.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the primary reasons why I felt compelled to do an adaptation of it. The principles and the spirit of it is still there, but we all know language is important. And for myself, I was a blackout drinker for about the last 3 years of my drinking career. Okay. I had no problem saying I was an alcoholic. But when it came to saying I was powerless, my ego really, really resisted. I think it's just a poor choice of words. Now, obviously, it's an effective thing because millions of people have been helped by the 12-step process. But for myself and many other people, right there in step one, we get stuck with powerless. Wait a minute. You know, stuff. What do you mean I'm powerless? And I was very fortunate that whatever I shared, I know I was really guarded in the beginning because I was emotionally raw. Fortunately, a man heard something that after the meeting, he asked me a few simple questions, and basically it was, you know, you seem to be having a challenge here. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm. What do you mean? And he's like going, well, this powerless thing. Let me ask you, when you drink, are you able to control your drinking? I'm like, no, that's why I'm at this dumb meeting. He goes, okay. And you're trying really, really hard to control your drinking, so much so that other areas of your life have been neglected. And I'm like, yeah. Again, that's why I'm at this dumb meeting, kind of stuff. And he goes, well, that's it. It's like you don't have the ability to control your drinking. And because so much of your attention, so much of your energy is focused on doing so, proving to yourself and to others that you got this under control, there's other parts of your life that are being neglected. And that's really the gist of what this is. And I'm like, oh, well, that I'll agree with. And that wasn't so hard of a pill to swallow. So that being said, I've reworded it to we admitted that we suffer because we are attached to specific outcomes and expectations. So again, please know what I've written this for is not necessarily somebody who identifies with a specific malady. Okay. Um, the language, like you repeated from Under Earners Anonymous, that's very specific to that. Alcoholics Anonymous. We admit we're powerless over alcohol. Whatever that blank is that's the thing that somebody's having the problem and is what they're coming to these meetings for. What I'm trying to present is something that is much more universal. So again, when I use this, I could put a slot in here and somebody could, put in whatever they feel there. But I generally believe that most people are wanting to control some sort of outcomes in their lives, whatever it may be. Romantic relationship, a professional arrangement, whatever it is, they're putting a lot of effort into it to get the result that they want, and it's not working out. And I don't know about anybody else, but myself, then I default to, well, I better try harder.
Mhm.
Obviously, if I want this to happen, I've just got to become more invested in this. I have to put more effort. I've got to double down, whatever language might be used. Um, but I'm really attached to a certain outcome. It's very important to me that things wind up a certain way that I want them to be.
Mhm.
So basically, this language, again, we admitted that we suffer because we are attached to specific outcomes and expectations. What I'm referring to here is recognizing that clinging to specific results cause distress.
Yeah.
And if a person can accept this, or at least, I don't know, become aware of this, there's a likelihood they'll have less anxiety about this. Hopefully, they'll be a little more present about it. Noticing a reduction in that anxiety and that frustrations as things don't go as planned, um, naturally means, well, you're going to be a little more clear-headed. Odds are in your favor when things are not as emotionally charged. When we can take that whole 3 steps back, or the 10 breaths that my grandma said, just take 10 breaths before you speak.
Mhm.
The reason why those things are effective is because the emotional charges that are involved with it, which I equate to, again, the importance of something. Outcomes that are not important to me, I don't have emotional investments.
Mhm.
But things that are important to me, and the more important something is, the more emotional charge is involved with it.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, it's just really trying, much like any 12-step program, we're just trying to clarify what the problem is that we're wanting to increase. We're increasing the problem awareness
Yeah.
involved with it. So that's what I've done here. I hope that's helpful in our discussion about under earners.
Yeah, and I think so too. And as you were speaking also about the emotional charge, especially around the circumstances that you can't control or the expectations. I mean, the viewer will see, my son is popping in here. He's putting his hand over there, and there's all kinds of. I'm in an environment right now where I want to control the situation. Where if the story I tell myself, if I was just earning more, I could have someone to sit for him, or I could have something for him to do while I'm trying to have this meeting, which to me is still work. And what I'm feeling at the moment in response to the powerlessness is that I think the word I would use is surrender. How do we surrender? To reality, really, the reality that we can't control every single aspect of our lives. I mean, I'm right now I'm looking over here and my son is climbing on the bed, and I'm worried about whether or not he's going to jump off the bed while I'm trying to stay focused on this on this conversation. So in a way, I was going to address also that my life has become unmanageable. I think that's true. I think I do have to admit that in some ways, just in this immediate environment, that my life has kind of become unmanageable. But what I am recognizing, and I think what this process might be helpful in is being able to regulate the nervous system, while being in the presence of having expectations not be met, or being in situations that are less than ideal. So that's what's very alive for me as we're going through this first step. But but yeah, Randy, as we're on this first step, what has been your experience in being able to either surrender or whatever it is? I mean, you've articulated the response to the powerlessness, and I agree. The wording that comes for me is surrender. Um, how have you done that? What's the first step on being able to just kind of let go and let God, so to speak, if we want to use if we want to use that terminology?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the word surrender. Again, it is
Mhm.
appropriate for the situation, but the ego does not like, again, at least for this guy,
Mhm.
this ego, surrender is not, no. As I said, my modus operandi was if I want to get things done, I don't give up.
Mhm.
You know, stuff. So for myself, the word that I find is a little more palatable is acceptance.
Acceptance, yeah.
And yeah, again, it worked for me.
Mhm.
I don't know. And again, other people listening to this might be just like, dude, you're getting hung up on your language and all this kind of stuff. But again, words have meaning and it's different for everyone. And again, there's emotional charge to me on these things.
Mhm.
Acceptance is not necessarily saying everything's okay. And it's not
Mhm.
about being passive about it. It's just no longer denying it. It's just no longer fighting it.
Yeah.
So in regards to, again, I'll stay in the lane of alcohol and such as like, well, yeah, okay, so I black out drinking, you know, kind of stuff. Yeah, can you just accept that this, again, this is shown consistently that you are drinking to the point of blackout. You cannot control, once you start ingesting alcohol, you cannot control how much you drink. Okay, except that as much as I would be able to justify and rationalize and just BS myself before other people, again, just trying to come up with some kind of excuse. Okay. You know, if you had to deal with a boss like I do, you know, you drink too, all that kind of stuff. Just no longer deny it, no longer fight it, and just like, yeah, I accept the fact that I cannot drink like normal people. So in regards to again something financial is admitting is like going, yeah, you know what? Apparently, whether it's my earning or it's how my spending, probably it's a combination of the two, and kind of such. I'm different than other people. I'm in a situation where I'm suffering. There's a problem here, and I can't seem to solve it myself. That's generally the gist of when somebody starts coming to a meeting. I've never met anybody who was all happy and eager to do it. At least in the beginning. There certainly are some people that have, you know, gone out, put their sobriety on pause, and come back, and they're grateful to have this second, third, fifth chance or whatever. And so if they want to be here this time, you know. But in general, when you first come to a support group, you're you've tried every other possibility than sharing that you've got a problem with other people. And hence you had to surrender. It's like I have to admit, I have to accept that I can't solve this on my own. And the outcome is I want to be able to, I should be able to, that's the expectation. I should be able to solve this problem. And therefore, there's a third word we haven't gotten into. I don't know if you were planning on this, but I'm going to throw it out here. Shame. So shame's a thing that I don't hear talked about much. And I think probably again knowing how emotionally raw I was when I how much shame I was carrying when I came into meetings, it's probably in respect to not necessarily get people to where they get hyper vigilant and they don't ever want to go and feel that uncomfortable again in the meeting. But when I have opportunities for one-on-one discussions and I try to listen really appropriately how much I can bring up, but the shame, this is very synonymous with the insecurities. I expected to be able to be different than I am, and I'm not living up to my expectations as a man. I am ashamed that I can't solve this problem on my own. And I really truly think that's a big part of when people start coming to support group meetings, whether it's online with the Zooms or it's in person and such, but starting to realize that one, there's no shame in asking for help. Again, when it's not personal, there's not the emotional charge to it and this stuff. I think most people agree. It's like, no, everybody needs help sooner or later in life. I don't care who you are. But also when you start developing relationships with people that are suffering the specific way you are, whatever it may be, whether it's financially, with a drug dependence, and such grief work, or whatever it may be, when you can be around other people that go, yeah, I hear you. I know. I've been there for you. And I've been there and I'm here for you is what I should say. That type of support typically only comes with somebody who's gone through very similar experiences.
Yeah, and I think that's really kind of the first, to me, that's what the first step is how to be present to the shame, especially when those expectations are not being met. Again, my life is shouting at me right now. I mean, again, my son is trying to come into the screen, and the story I tell myself around this is that I'm feeling shame that I can't be present for him right now. I'm feeling shame that I'm not generating enough income to where I have an office that I can go to and just do this meeting without any interruptions. So there's a lot of shame that's coming up here, and acceptance. What you also said in that is being able to accept that which you can't control. So a lot of my work is really just kind of understanding how values get misaligned and how corruption sometimes blocks off financial flow for some people, especially for people who are not willing to play that game of corruption or compromising their values. I've spent a lot of time feeling very angry about that, and to an extent, feeling shame over it as well too, because the story I tell myself again is that okay, well, I know so much, I can do this all on my own. I should be able to make money, in spite of the corruption, in spite of the blocks that are keeping people like me from having a platform and being heard. So yeah, and my son's throwing socks at me at the moment while I'm saying this as well. So but yeah, that's where it's kind of like it's okay to accept help. It's okay to accept the fact that we're in this together. Nobody ever really succeeds alone. There's this African proverb that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So that's what's just really alive for me right now. And right now, I'm having to surrender to the fact that I'm a dad. I have a responsibility, and it's kind of I just got to surrender to life as it is and not how I want it to be. And I guess this is just the situation right now is to just surrender to the fact that I'm loved. My son wants to be around me. My son wants to be here. And in a way, I think that's what makes this moment endearing, and makes it puts it in perspective that I'm just surrendering to what is and not what I think it should be as I'm getting stuff thrown at me.
Yeah,
So yeah, yeah,
exactly. And what you're demonstrating right now is what I've come to conclude is evidence that there's a healing process to it. Again, you use the word shame with it, and I certainly can't sit in your chair and stuff. But usually what shame is something that you never want to share with another person. You don't want to speak of it. You don't want to even think of it. That kind of stuff that's going on. And again, hence there's a defense mechanism with again the rationalizing and justification and the denial with it. Um, and when that topic, whatever it may be, is something that now you can share with another individual. This is kind of coming back to the support group. But eventually, when you get to the point where what you were just doing is you were laughing about it, very rarely have I ever found somebody who can take it that. Again, there certainly can be an element of it, but it's different than the hole in your soul. So again, the people coming into recovery meetings, again, there's people talk about an emptiness, and then again that phrase "hole in my soul" and stuff. It's I'm emotionally, I'm spiritually bankrupt, and again that seems what it takes to have that existential pain to finally go, yeah, I accept this, I admit this. I'm no longer arguing with this. I'm going to do the very last thing I want to do and say, can you please help me? And then accept. That's another thing kind of segueing in here. What's the bottom? If somebody's wondering, well, how do I know what a bottom is? Well, certainly people have surrendered to the programs and have had times when they went back to their old behavior. But typically, it is when you get to the point I just described where you finally say, I need help and I accept the help. So if somebody gives a suggestion to me or, type of thing that I wouldn't normally want to do, I don't want to go to these dumb meetings and stuff. Understood, no one ever wanted to go to those meetings, but this is what I found to be helpful, and I really think it might be helpful for you. And then you accept that advice and move forward, and so on. Of course, this is a very simple type of thing, and it's very general. But when we finally stop, again, I'm going to default again with insecurities and such. There's also this pride. This is a big part of again the resistance, the expectations, and such. You know, I, as I alluded to before, I shouldn't need your help. I don't want your help and stuff like that. These are very common things. Well, when you can finally do the contrary action to that and go, okay, please, can you help me? I need help in this way, this shape and form. So it's a common, again, this is all first step stuff that it's not necessarily just one aspect. It's complicated, and that's why it's overwhelming, and that's why help is needed to have somebody that it's not. So I guess another thing I want while I think of it, that I believe is really important is a lot of times in relationships, there's a vertical dynamic to this. The counselor, the therapist, even again, the person in recovery, because I've been sober for a certain length of time, I'm above you and I'm mentoring you. I'm there. And really, truly, what I've seen is beneficial for myself and in the relationships I've been involved with is having a horizontal relationship. I'm not above you. I'm not below you. Kind of stuff. And that is a dynamic that we don't see much in society. Again, you mentioning your frustration with corruption and such as that. We live in a world where that is much more common.
Mhm.
And if somebody's going, well, that's not realistic. Well, perhaps. But really, truly, in this environment, in this relationship of being able to find someone who to seek guidance from, if you're listening to this and you're kind of going, well, I don't know, how can I find help? If you can find somebody who has that attitude, and of course, they'll probably use their own language, but we're equals. I'm not above you and such, then it's much more likely to be a mutually beneficial relationship. Um, so, again, that was one of the things before we came together and stuff that I want to interject. So if you're struggling, you're suffering, and again, whether you've gone to the meetings or contemplating the meetings, these are all things that I think would very likely have benefited me when I was new. That I don't know. Again, part of my shame, I wasn't going to ask. I didn't want to look like I didn't know anything. I wanted to look like I had everything still together and stuff. But these are the types of things that call it by divine appointment or whatever. But guys came in and showed up at the time and they shared the stuff that I've just shared with you.
Yeah, I also want to make a note of something as well too about the horizontal relationship. One of the things that we often discuss in trauma informed culture or trauma responsive practices is this need for peer to peer relationship. So that is something that's very much alive for me as well. That there's peer support, not above you, and that you're not talking down to anyone as below you as well, and being able to ask for help. And how that really manifests for me at the moment is I really need to ask for help in the sense that anyone watching this, please be patient with me as I'm dealing with my environment. If anyone would like to help me, in being able to at least earn enough of a living where I can afford daycare or I can afford, to be in my own office, I'm willing to accept that help. And Randy, I also want to say, in a way, I've been asking you for help because just producing the series as well too is a tremendous help because we're holding space now. We're holding space for that relationship, holding space for that for what for me the word I would use is surrender or acceptance of things as they are, and that is the first step. So as we close out this first section, what would we want to ask somebody if we were inviting somebody joining us to explore this first step? What kind of questions would we want to ask somebody who's coming into this maybe for the first time and wanting to explore? One of the things I would like to encourage is maybe even make a list of some of the things that are hard to accept. What are some of the things that are in your life right now that are hard to accept, that carry an emotional charge to it, and just make a list of it. So that would be one of the action steps that I would ask somebody watching this. But is there any questions or anything that you can think of that you would like to offer up to encourage someone watching this for the first time?
I have something, but there one more thing before I share that. It's the paradigm that you're not broken. So this is really, really important. And again, it's a continuation of the shame and the expectations and such. And I've had a lot of people fight this with me. It's like, oh, you don't know me, you know. I thought for sure it's like, if part of the reason why I wouldn't share what was going on with me, it's like, I don't like myself. If you know the real me, you won't like me either. Type of thing. And I carried around again these unrealistic expectations of how I was supposed to be that frankly, again, now I can laugh about it and all this kind of stuff. But I had somewhere through the course of my life envisioned that I should be able to solve every problem, kind of stuff. And everybody should like me and all these kind of things that are silly now, but they were very, very real for a big chunk of my life. So you're not broken, you're human. And humans have behavior patterns. We have defense mechanisms. We have things in our life that we've developed over the course, of typically our developmental years, that establish how we see ourselves and how we see our interaction, our relationship with the world. So that would be, again, it's one of the things when I sit down and talk with somebody there is I want them to consider that their core essence, who they are underneath the identity, the ego of who they are, which again typically associates with accomplishments and possessions and such as that. Um, who you are, much like a child. Child doesn't have trophies probably, and again speaking from a very general thing, they don't have bank accounts and stuff. They're just being is value. Kids are wonderful. and part of the reason why I feel so is because you could just look at your son. And I can remember that innocence in myself and such. When we didn't have so many of the hurts and the hangups and the habits and stuff that caused us these to be feeling less than others. So maybe that's again the list of the things is, what are our expectations of ourselves? Not to beat ourselves up, but just awareness is like, well, I think I should be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm frustrated, and I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be. And I'm really frustrated why I can't do these things in my life. And we can get into in the other episodes and stuff, peeling back the layers on these things. Right now, let's just in the paradigm of keep it simple. What are the expectations that you have for yourself that you're struggling with, you're frustrated with, you're angry about right now? Again, you have strong emotions attached to this. And again, it's not an exercise to beat yourself up and stuff. It's just really to help increase your awareness of where there might be an issue that you need to look at. Again, we'll get into the more about as far as self-inquiry, self-observation, but that's really kind of the gist of this is, again, there's the framework involved with this, but as we live life and stuff, just noticing those times when I'm getting upset. I've been doing this for 19 years and I still get upset. I'm human. So, and when I can catch myself, which is not easy always, is again when I try to see when it's the water's starting to boil before it's boiling over. But I can just like, why are you so upset right now? maybe again, taking just 3, 5 breaths and stuff. It's like, why are you really upset right now? And then just leave it at that. I don't have to have the answer that there. It's more like I've kind of planted a seed and it just acknowledged and named my state of being at that time. I'm really pissed right now. Okay. And if for no other reason and stuff, then now when once I'm able to name it and not try to push it in and deny it, that took a little bit of the power. All this stuff, we'll get into it more and more, but this stuff that we try to deny and a real man doesn't cry kind of stuff that was instilled upon me. There's big boys don't cry and stuff. No, men do cry because men get sad and stuff. There's very much appropriate times for people to have that type of emotion going. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're a guy watching this and you think that there's a problem with it, that vulnerability is a sign of weakness and that makes you less a man and stuff, you pick that up over the course of your life. And when it's not personal and stuff, again, women or other men who are nodding their head like you just did, Mike. Again, it's a very common problem, but it's really not anything to carry the shame and regret for. So I hope if anybody's been listening to this, what I've just shared here can encourage you to again review what's irritating you, what's causing problems in your life, because we all got things that irritate us and causes problems. No one's exempt of this stuff. But maybe you'll tune in, listen to the series. We're going to be hitting all 12 of these steps, and we'll be equating them. Michael specialize in the under earners, the situation, how finances, and because of course we live in a world where money's required. You know, I'm more getting into how it fits into a recovery lifestyle.
Very good stuff, Randy. Okay, so you and I are going to take just a quick break, and then we'll start on step two. I'm going to take care of my environment here now, but this was a this was a lived experience for me, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you, and really good stuff. So so thank you for joining us, and hope to see you on step two.